Good morning. Today we're going to be talking about shading. And yes, we are going to be talking about shading a cube, but before we get there, let's go ahead and just begin with shading. So in the art classroom, we've got all kinds of pencils, and at home, I'm assuming you might have just a regular pencil. So here's a few helpful hints if you're shading at home. First of all, I would highly recommend that you go ahead and get a regular wooden pencil. I would also recommend that it be nice and sharpened. I like a sharp pencil, not a dull one. I also, if you have them at home, I highly recommend a Ticonderoga. It has better shading than like just regular pencils that you might have. However, if you don't have a Ticonderoga, this will work just fine, so don't worry about it. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with our shading today. To begin with, on one end, you're going to try and take your pencil lead and draw as dark as you, let's go ahead with light, or let's go ahead with the light as you possibly can. This is going to be more of a medium, and this is going to be a dark. And the reason why you're doing this is you just want to be able to see your range of possibilities. Let's go ahead, let's do one more thing. I'm going to go ahead and divide this in half right here. So I'm going to take, I drew a rectangle. I'd recommend that you start off with a rectangle. And then I divided it in half because I wanted to show you in two different ways. One way, down in the bottom half, I'm going to have a light, a medium, that's a big medium, and then we're going to go ahead with a dark range over here. So what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to have distinct different areas on that one. Now what I'm going to do at the top is I'm going to blend all of that together and have one continuous looking shade. So a few more things whenever you're shading. One of the reasons why I wanted you to have a rectangle today or have a confined space is because if you're shading and it's scribbling all over the place, you're not learning how to really get close to your edges and how to deal with that. So I'd like you to practice that today. All right, I'm going to pause my video and work ahead of you so you can kind of see what it looks like as I go here. All right, let's go ahead and continue with our shading. All right, so sorry, I was making sure my Elmo was working. That was my pause. All right, so to begin with, down here, I have as light as my pencil could go, a nice medium, and then I was testing out as dark as my pencil could possibly take that. So you can kind of keep going and layer over that a few more times and see if you can get as deep of a dark of a tone as you can possibly get. Now you might also be wondering, when do I stop? When is it dark? When it can go no further? So one of the things, it's going to be hard to kind of show you on here, but I think you might have done it before on your own paper. If you ever make it where it's shiny and kind of shiny looking, sometimes it kind of dents the paper. You're actually kind of destroying some of the paper fibers, and that's actually telling you that you went too far. So let's go ahead up here. We're wanting to do pretty much the exact same thing, except without these dividers right here. We're wanting to blend that from all the way from light all the way to the medium to dark. So this is the one that I kind of wanted to do with you. So there's different times for both of these. So on this one, we're going to be using a cube. We're going to be using the bottom type of shading for a cube, but there's so many times when you need to blend out your light on a curved space or like a big open space. So both of these techniques are really, really important. All right, so I have my light to my medium, and now I'm needing to get to the dark. All right, one of the other things I wanted to talk to you about was the direction of your pencil strokes. With the direction of your pencil, try to go with the low or the longest lines that you can find. So in contrast, or like how I say this differently, is don't go the opposite direction. What this does is it shows more of the streakiness. You're also getting up close to your edges, going outside your edges all the time. It's just harder to control that way, and in the end, your shading looks a little more chaotic. So I'm going to go ahead and get real close. Now over here, gaps, get close to the edge and kind of fill in those gaps. That's okay. All right, so now I'm going to intensify my shading and get really in there more. So you want really close little pencil shadings. You want them nice, close to each other. All right, that looks pretty good. I'm going to continue to blend. I see more areas that I can keep blending. All right, so what happens if it looks kind of streaky? All right, well, let me show you a couple little tricks. Sometimes when things start to look a little streaky, and I've already done it just a little bit, you might use your finger and kind of blend that together just a little bit. Another option is for you to get a Kleenex. And I have no Kleenexes next to me. Hold on. All right, I had to go get a Kleenex. All right, so what you can do at home is if you would like to use a Kleenex to do some blending, you can take this and fold it over, and I know Kleenex is going to be kind of floppy, but I like to get it to a little bit of a point, so I just kept folding it until I could find like a point in the center. I do want you to notice on here, notice how much pencil I have already put down before I start blending with a Kleenex or using my finger. A lot of times what I see students do is they put a little bit of pencil down and then they try to smear that all over the place. That doesn't work all that well. You really need to get a lot of pencil lead down, and this is the blending part should be a final step. So let's see if you can kind of see, excuse me, I can kind of blend it. So it's a little streaky. You can do a little bit of blending. I don't know if you can see on the document camera how much that really lightened up my dark, so I'm going to go back and put a little bit more dark on top of it. If you're still having some problems with streakiness, here's another helpful hint for you. If you take your project and shade an opposite direction, so if you go this way, it looks a little too much like, you can see, you see like gaps or anything, it looks a little bit like a checkerboard. What I recommend is going a different direction, and do make sure that you're going same direction. I'm not like changing it all over the place. Just adding some layer here. Fade that out some. Alright, and that looks pretty good. That's your beginning practice on shading. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to start by applying that shading onto an actual 3D surface, which is going to be a cube. Alright, so that's my finished product.